Hey guys, Mike with Gettin Greasy Garage, and yeah, as you can see, we got some front suspension stuff. Got some QA1. There's even some Toyota stuff thrown in here. Later Model Z stuff. So I'll explain all this. So as you know, I'm redoing the floor pans and subframe, or frame if you will. It's a unibody, but I'm putting updated frame rails and stuff. There's other videos about that, but I had to pull the front suspension off to do, because up there around the front floor pan and toe boards is all rotted out. So I pulled the front suspension off to get it out of my way. And of course, like any 50-year-old car, this is a 74, so yeah, 50 years old. All the bushings and ball joints and tie rod ends and all that are all rotten. Well, in one of my earliest videos on this whole ordeal, I took apart and cut up another 260 that was wrecked, that my dad bought at an auction. And here's one of the spindles, or the front strut spindle assemblies that came off of the wrecked car that is going to go on this car. And I made some discoveries. So this is a stock 260Z front strut. They cut the factory spring coil, you know, the coil spring mount off of it, and they used QA1 coilover spring that goes over that, QA1 spring, and of course the upper spring deal, and it all bolts together like a regular strut. I did make a couple of other discoveries. One, they had hardly any grease on these wheel bearings, and there was no cotter pin in the castle nut that holds everything on the spindle, so that was kind of scary. The ball joint that goes on the bottom, there's a plate and stuff here. They didn't even have a cotter pin in there, nor was the nut tight, and the ball joint was seized up. So kind of scary stuff. It definitely pays to take things apart and inspect if you didn't put it together, even if it's a car that's sitting, and if you don't know, you don't know. So take things apart and check it out. But the point in this video is the brakes. So, and I didn't know any of this. I'm not really a Z car guy. I just happened to be messing with one. So in comparing with these spindles laying, or I keep calling it a spindle, but it's a strut and spindle assembly, in it laying next to the ones I took out of the car, the original ones, everything looked different. Rotor looked bigger, caliper looked way bigger, brake pads were bigger. So it turns out that you can take the rotors from a 1982 280ZX and they will bolt onto the bearing hub of a 260. These are 1 inch bigger in diameter. They're also vented, and they're wider. Bolt-on caliper for it, interestingly enough, steps you up to 4 pistons. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a 4-piston 79 to 85 Toyota 4-wheel drive pickup caliper, and it bolts right on to these caliper bracket holes. So essentially you get big brakes, 4-piston calipers, bigger pads, bigger rotor, and all using factory parts without having to buy expensive aftermarket stuff. I actually didn't know what any of this stuff was, so I used my Google search, which you know, if you know how to do that, you take a picture of something and search the internet for it. And once I figured out what the stuff was, I started going through some of the forums, and apparently this is a pretty common brake upgrade for 240s, 260s, earlier 280s, Z's, the Datsuns. I thought it was a pretty neat deal, so I would show you on a video. And if you're like me, I can read about this kind of stuff all day long on forums, but until I see the parts and see how everything bolts together, I always take everything on a forum with a grain of salt. But this caliper, like I said, it's 4-piston. Bolts right to that. Of course, it's just sitting on it like this. I know which way it goes, but the holes line up perfectly. Everything bolts together. It's a good upgrade with common parts, and gives you upgraded front brakes. This QA1 stuff worked out really well for lowering this car without doing major suspension modifications. If anybody wants part numbers on this stuff, leave a comment and I will give you the information that I have on it. This is, like I said, this is all just front suspension, brakes, and in doing this stuff, I found, like I said, that things were done wrong, so everything will be cleaned up, checked out. I don't know if I'll remachine the rotors. They look pretty new, so I'll probably just steel wool them down so they're clean. Clean everything up, paint it up, put it all back together. But yeah, anyway, Datsun Z upgraded brakes with Toyota parts. Who knew it? Who'd have thunk it? But you know, it's cheaper than aftermarket stuff. Thought I'd share. Alright guys, enough out of me for now. Got work to do. I'm gonna get back to it. If you would, please hit the thumbs up. All that stuff helps with YouTube. And like, share, subscribe if you're not. Welcome if you're a new subscriber. And we'll keep doing this stuff. Alright guys, stay greasy, my friends.